Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll begin our meeting, our Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 14th. Welcome, welcome. And I will begin with a tickle in my throat. I'll begin with a land acknowledgement. The Niagara region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and Grimsby stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight? No. All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a mover for the agenda? Councillor Kristangi, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And moving on to the receipt of previous minutes for April 9th, 2024. Do I have a mover for the receipt of last month's minutes? Amy? All in favor? Carried. No verbal updates, I don't think, so we'll move on to our first request for comments at 10 Betts Avenue, and we'll invite Megan Hobson to come on and share a bit about 10 Betts Avenue. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Bianca, I just emailed you a little presentation. I don't know if you have time to just pop it up on the screen. So I'm here today on behalf of the applicant for 10, the address is known as 10 Betts Avenue, but it's actually a lot that's been severed from number 10 where there is an existing house. And it's registered as a separate portion, which has no structures on it at the moment. The applicant's planning to build a small house on that vacant parcel. And it has a very nice design that fits in with the area. Bianca, will you be able to put that up just so everybody can see it?
Through the chair. Sorry, Megan, it just came in. 1 second.
Yeah, sorry, it was very last minute. Apologize.
It looks like we're having some technical difficulty.
I said a PDF. Is that okay?
Megan, are you able to share your screen? That could be an option.
Do I have permission?
We just gave you permission.
Okay. Yeah, just a sec. Is that coming up? No, it's not, is it?
Oh, no, unfortunately not right now. We're seeing like your main screen, it looks like a folder.
Yeah.
We see it.
Oh, okay. I can't see what you're seeing, but you're on the first page of the PDF, I'm guessing.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So I believe you're seeing the streetscape. So you can see the existing house at 10 Betts Avenue. Just to the left of that is the vacant, separately registered parcel where the applicant is going to just infill with a little house of a similar size to the one at 10 Betts Avenue. Next slide, I guess I'll do that myself. So are you seeing now the layout, the historic layout of Grimsby Park? You can see I've just shaded approximately where this lot is located. It's part of what is considered to be the new survey, where the lots are more regularly laid out and shaped in terms of a regular type of grid compared to the old survey, where that is not the case.
Megan, we're still seeing the main streetscape.
Okay.
I think Bianca's going to take over for you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bianca. So that was the first one.
Just hold on 1 second. We're just having some more issues. Okay, Megan, I think we're good. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, so yes, so you can see shaded there. That's part of the new survey where the lots are more regular and they're kind of arranged in a grid. And it was on the side of what was called Park Row, but is now Lake is it Lake Avenue, Lake Road. So that area's been kind of changed there, and that's why it kind of ended up with this kind of remnant lot here that was not built on. So the next slide, please. So here I'm just showing you shaded in on the left an aerial view where that house is proposed to be built beside 10 Betts Avenue and set back from Lake Street. So there's still going to be a kind of a buffer between the new proposed house and Lake Street, where there are quite a number of trees that will remain. And then on the right, just looking in from Betts Avenue, you can see that little vacant area there between the existing house at 10 Betts Avenue on the right and the trees along Lake Avenue to the left, Lake Street to the left, sorry. Next slide, please. This is what I was provided with. This is what the applicant is planning to build there. So I didn't get a detailed set of elevations or plans, but just more or less a concept. And I felt that this was very much in keeping with the area. It's got a kind of a traditional form with the gables and the front porch facing Betts Avenue. And the height and the massing is all very consistent with the area. And there will be landscaping in front. And the setback will match the setback of the existing house at number 10. And of course, he's going to use wood siding. And again, everything seems to fit with the neighborhood. The materials, the massing, the scale, and even the architectural style. So next slide, please. Just to sum up, I evaluated it according to the Grimsby Beach Urban and Heritage Guidelines, and in terms of the standards and guidelines. And it was consistent with all of those guidelines. So I'm recommending that you approve it. I just put in a few conditions just because I didn't have some of the information that normally would have had. So in terms of very more detailed drawings, because this still has to go through Committee of Adjustment, I believe. So those materials will be forthcoming, and that's why I just put them in here as conditions that Heritage staff can just review as they are provided, just to make sure that everything's consistent with what was presented here today. So the first recommendation, that Heritage staff review the building permit application prior to the issue of the building permits to ensure that submission is consistent with the preliminary site plan and architectural design included in this report. And secondly, that the applicant retains an arborist to prepare a tree protection plan to identify and protect existing trees that may be affected by the construction and site servicing. So just to protect the trees that we know, I noted, kind of provide a buffer from Lake Street. And then finally, the third condition being that the applicant provides a grading and drainage plan. Again, this will be something that would be included as part of a regular application. It just isn't ready yet. And to show that they're maintaining the existing grades adjacent to that dwelling at 10 Betts Street. It's an older building with probably a sort of not a concrete foundation, certainly. So to maintain the grading there would be good, and to make sure that there's no adverse effects for what's happening on this lot. So the applicant is also here today if you have any questions for him, and I will be here in case anybody has any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Megan. Any questions from the committee for our presenter? Yes, Councillor DeFabio?
Thank you, Chair. Through you. So in general, it looks like a pretty good design. My concern is about the trees on the site, because it looks like like a half a dozen, maybe 8 mature trees that are right where the house is going to go. I know there's a tree preservation plan that hasn't been completed yet, but I don't imagine that a lot of those trees can be saved based on the way the lot is laid out and the way the house is going to be built. I don't know if Darren is able to answer that. Is Darren the person?
Yeah, I'm here.
Through you, Chair.
Can I speak?
Yes, Darren, go ahead if you'd like to answer.
Okay. Yeah, so I do. Those trees are fairly close to the foundation. There is one tree that's, I'm assuming, going to have to go just because of how many roots will be cut down, but I believe that the rest of them will be okay. I don't know if, I think the years of these trees are about 30 years old. I have planted 3 maple trees closer to Lake Street currently to, just to fill in that area a bit more. But I do believe one will probably be too much affected by the foundation.
Thank you for your response, Darren. Any other questions from the committee? Yes, Councillor Christiangi, go ahead.
Thank you. Not really a question, but comment. I know the area, and it actually, on the picture, makes it look like there's more trees than there is. There's actually more space there too. I don't want to say it's deceiving, but it's not as many trees and as close as it looks in the photo. But I like the design. I think it's very complementary to the area, and I think it's going to provide a nice house for a nice family. It's exactly what we want, and it'll really complement that area, and it's really nice going into the core area. So I support it. I think Darren, you've done a fantastic job, and I think it's really going to be a compliment to the street.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, and I do agree. I do appreciate the attention and the care that's been put towards designing a building that will complement the character of the neighborhood and trying to protect the green space as much as you can. I believe, Bianca, you had something that you'd like to add to this as well?
Thank you, through the chair. I was just going to give you some of our staff comments. So to echo Councillor Korstanji, we are also very supportive of the application, and we find it to be very compatible with the surrounding streetscape. We found it in keeping with urban design and heritage guidelines and the Grimsby Beach Secondary Plan provisions. We also, I know Garrett's just sharing the site plan here, but I also worked a little bit with Darren recently to accommodate some parking needs. And so in order to kind of balance the need for parking and green space, there is kind of like a flex parking spot that's available there in the front, and we're recommending it be permeable pavers. So it's kind of like the mix between both if they need the parking space, and it also has a green space. So in order to alleviate one of the requested variances, we were able to accommodate the parking on site. So that was no longer needed from a variance perspective. So we felt that it was very compatible with the existing area, and it helped contribute to the ongoing preservation of the area. So we echoed all of the heritage impact assessment conditions and then added the permeable pavers. Thank you. That's everything I have.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks for adding that. So I don't see anything in front of me. Is that just because this is a request for comment? I guess I do have a question, just because we weren't able to see a lot of drawings and what were being, will there be another opportunity for the Heritage Committee to see anything else, or does this go forward to council and other committees after us?
Through the chair, similar to how Megan had mentioned, one of the conditions of the minor variance will be that Heritage review the final building plans to ensure it's in accordance with the proposed drawing. So we'd like to have something in accordance with the urban design guidelines. They've specified some materials in there, and then the image is very similar to what they're what the guidelines deem to be appropriate. So we would work with Darren at building permit. So basically the condition would begin coming from Heritage Committee, and then Heritage staff would make sure it's in keeping with that. Yeah.
Thank you for providing that clarification. And again, thank you to the homeowner for putting so much attention and care into making this building and fit within the character of the community. We're just waiting on, oh, sorry, go ahead, Megan.
I was just going to say, I mean, it goes back to you to ensure that it's what everyone expects to see. If there's a major departure, then yes, it certainly could come back to the Heritage Committee, but that's not what we're expecting.
Okay, so if there's no other comments or questions from the committee, okay, we can move on then to the resolution. Sorry for that delay. I have a resolution here that the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee endorse the staff comments and recommendations, and that these be shared within the Committee of Adjustment memorandum. Do I have a mover? Brian? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then to, all right, we have an easement agreement and demolition request for 3537 Victoria Terrace, and Bianca will be presenting on this.
Thank you, through you, the chair. So this is a follow-up from last meeting. So similar to the previous file that had a request for comments, that was the step that this application was at the last time it was here. So as a part of the request for comments, the committee endorsed staff's recommendations for an easement agreement. And so we've been working a lot with the applicants to continue to move the process forward. So we're moving the easement agreement process forward so that we can keep moving the file forward as it goes to committee of adjustment. And then in addition to that, they also require some demolition on the site in order to fully restore the building. So I'm going to touch on that. And then they also made an amendment since the last meeting, which required an additional variance for the front yard and interior side yard. And that was so that they could put a ensuite bathroom on the second story. And so further to that memo prepared by staff, we continue to have the same comments and that efforts have been made to ensure that it was compatible, distinguishable, and subordinate with the heritage building and will further ensure the long-term retention of the building as it meets the modern needs of the property owners. And then if you go to the next slide. So this is an image of where that proposed addition will be. And so on the first floor there, which is actually the second floor plan in, you can see that there's a kind of rectangular shaped highlight. So that's an original part of the building. And in order to make sure the addition on the second floor isn't going into town land, they'll be reconstructing that wall slightly in so that it's inside their property line. And then they'll be putting the second story addition on the top. So that's the change since the last meeting. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a blow up of what was inside the reports. It just talks a bit about the demolition. So the main demolition is going to be for the walls for the two-story porch that they'll be restoring. Over time, it was enclosed, so they'll be opening up those porches. And then there is some demolition occurring on the area to the west, and that's to accommodate the restoration of an original window and to again open up the porch similar to the historic photographs. And then there's going to be openings on the east side, and that's to accommodate entrance from the addition. So that's all the demolition they're proposing, and so we're supportive of that demolition so that it can be restored. And then for the encroachment agreement, I also touched with this within the report on this was that we recommended there be some flexibility within the easement agreement that if while the restoration is occurring, if an unforeseen event takes place where something needs to be demolished that they didn't take into consideration, we recommended within the report that that be a part of the permitted works, that it be delegated to staff to make that decision. And that would be for minor things such as rot or decay that was like unforeseen. And that would just help them not to stop in the middle of construction to come back to council. So that was outlined in the report. And then the permitted works were also included within the easement agreement, which included the restoration of the cottage. Megan, that was just on, she's also working on this file. And so she's putting together a conservation master plan that'll speak to the full restoration of the building. And so we're recommending that that plan be completed to the satisfaction of the director of planning. And then within the easement, that it be required that they follow that conservation master plan and that it be in accordance with the standards and guideline for historic places in Canada. And that the new addition is compatible, distinguishable, and subordinate, and we talked about at the last meeting. And then I had the piece in there about the minor demolition. And that was included removal of materials for openings, removal of portions of later additions to enable the full restoration in accordance with best practices. And then I also said, in the case of replacement material for water damage, decay, and rot, that they have that flexibility to make those changes with approval from heritage staff and then general maintenance and landscaping. So this easement will be placed on the property and it will be an interim level of protection rather than pursuing designation right now. if we were to pursue designation, it would kind of tie them up in the process for anywhere from 90 to 120 days. And so because of that, this is an interim solution that will allow them to continue with the project, and the building will be secured. And then the designation can occur after. And I was just going to note the property owners are okay with this approach. So that's everything, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Bianca. That sounds, I really like this idea of this easement agreement. I think it's nice to see that going forward, that there's this relationship with the homeowners, and I don't know, I think it's a good example of the town working well together with the community. Are there any questions from the committee about this easement agreement and the demolition request? And that there will be a designation following as well. Any questions regarding that? It seems like that's probably the best way going forward to do this, especially because we have their support. And these property owners came last month, so we remember how passionate they were about the project and how excited they are, and that they really are, working thoroughly to take the steps to preserve the heritage elements where they can. So that's good. My question was, so in terms of the encroachment agreement, that's when they don't have to come to you. Like if there's something that comes up and they say, and they have to demolish, or that doesn't have to come to the committee, but like who makes that decision?
Through the chair. So we're recommending that for those particular things that I noted as demolition, so openings and removal of pieces that they didn't take into consideration that were added over time to take it back to the original, we're recommending it be delegated to heritage staff, and so that we assess it to ensure that it's in keeping with best practices. And that's just so that the project doesn't halt. And so that would be a part of the encroachment agreement.
Yeah. Thank you. I was just looking for clarification so there is still going to be working with heritage staff during that. Okay, I was just wondering who makes that call and how, but that answers my question then. Anything else from the committee regarding this then? Okay, we'll move on to the resolution then. All right, it's a bit of a mouthful, this one. Resolved that report HR 2409 easement agreement and demolition request report for 3537 Victoria Terrace be received, and that the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee recommends that staff prepare the associated heritage easement agreement for property at 35 Victoria Terrace, and that the requested demolition be recommended for approval to enable the restoration of the original cottage and the construction of the compatible addition, and the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee recommend that the property at 35 Victoria Terrace be designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act after the permitted works outlined within the Heritage Easement Agreement are completed. Do I have a mover? Amy, wonderful. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Fantastic. All right, we are moving on to a report on the information on a new Heritage Grant Program, and Bianca will be presenting on that as well.
Thank you, through the chair. Just to provide a little background, the town was originally using using the opportunity from the region for the Smarter Niagara Incentive Program, which included the Heritage Restoration Grant Program, and that was done for a number of years in the town. And this program is officially coming to an end in October. We still have 3 active grants that we're in the process of closing out. Because this program's coming to an end, we wanted to ensure a new program was put in place prior to this ending. And so at the direction of council, we have investigated the information on these heritage grants. And so as a part of this review, we spoke with 13 different municipalities. We did spend a lot of time outside of the Niagara region because a lot of people in the Niagara region were using the SNP program. So we were looking for some different options. And the goal was to learn from the different municipalities to see what was working, what wasn't working, lessons learned, and some best practices. So we had some consistency. the way that the Heritage Grant program works outside of the Smarter Niagara program is that it's through the Ontario Heritage Act. So the Heritage Act enables municipalities to put these grant programs in place. However, it is up to the municipality to put the details of that program together. And so in order for us to get best practices of those details, you can see within the report there was a lot of benchmarking that was done. And the idea was just to bring an update to the committee so they can see what other municipalities are doing. And we were hoping this to be an opportunity to get some feedback from you. And then the intention is to bring the report forward, hopefully at the next meeting, outlining the extent of the program. And so this benchmarking as well as consultation we've done will help us get to that step. So in addition to the municipalities, we've also met with over 50 designated property owners. And a lot of the consultation we also did concurrently while we were doing designations in the community. And we got great feedback from the property owners. We had a lot of people share with us their long-term goals for the site, some of the work they're hoping to do, so that we can have a good idea of what the eligible work should be. We also had an opportunity to talk about funding for non-for-profit organizations, which there's been quite a few designations that recently occurred on non-for-profit sites, and they were very interested in the funding. The property owners like the idea of it being an annual funding. Previously, the SNP program was $35,000 once. That was your maximum. You couldn't go over that. So the community did like the idea of having this annual funding be available. And they wanted something that was easy to implement and easy to apply for. And a lot of the work was for bringing back lost elements, structural upgrades, window restoration, porches, that kind of thing. And then from the municipalities, we kind of got some ideas on some of their lessons learned. And so they agreed that it should be easy to administer and that they wanted to ensure there was consistency between like the heritage permit process and all the existing urban design guideline programs that are in place in the town. And so we got some good examples of that being implemented right in with the program just to ensure consistency and ease for the applicants. We also spent some time talking about, and you'll see within the report, just the sustainability perspective and how investing in these buildings ensures that the embodied carbon that exists in these buildings continues to be used and is hopefully not being increased by using original materials. We're also avoiding high quality materials from ending up in the landfill. I thought some of the interesting things coming from the other municipalities was a focus on stabilization of the property or structural upgrades was considered to be a priority. And also designated attributes was something that they liked the funding to be targeted towards. So staff is, from our initial kind of summary of all the benchmarking, we're thinking like a general framework, being that it is a pilot program and that we run the pilot program for a couple years to see what is working, what isn't working, and then we can make adjustments if needed. We're recommending that it be a matching grant. All of the municipalities we looked at were a 50% matching grant, most of them. I think one was a 20%, but most of them were 50%. We've been allocated $20,000 from council right now for the pilot program, and I think the pilot program will be telling if that number is sufficient or not. But I will note we annually had, prior to this, I believe we had 15,000. So council has increased the amount, and I've always had difficulties having the money be spent. So I think this will be interesting to see if this new approach will make the funding be used up faster. So I think it'll be really telling that way. Yeah, so that the program informed the future use of the program. All municipalities had it be eligible for Part 4 and Part 5 designations. Some also did include easements. We don't have any longstanding easements in the town, but that's something we can also consider down the road. We want there to be a clear and defined intake period to ensure there's simplicity and fairness. So we'll have like a deadline date everyone has to get an application in by. And then we thought, just based on discussions with the property owners and some lessons learned, that there'd be options for both smaller and larger grants. And that's something we will bring forward at the next meeting, kind of showing what we're proposing the funding be broken up into to enable a couple grants to be available every year. We want a deadline for the work to be completed for. A lot of the municipalities requested that work be finished before another grant be applied for. Some municipalities allowed people to apply for 2 every other year, so there's some options that way. And then for the selection process, that structural repairs definitely be taken into consideration. And then, just see if there was anything else I wanted to touch on here. Oh, I wanted to note, we also received direction from council to look at the Heritage Property Tax Relief Program. And so that is under review right now so that it can be taken into consideration for the 2025 budget. But I did want to note, and I thought was very important from our research, every municipality implemented the grant program first and then looked at the incentive. So this is very consistent with what other municipalities are doing. And yeah, so this is more of an information, but the next meeting we're going to be bringing for an actual proposed program. And it's our hope to have like the application forms, the brochure we'd be giving the homeowners so that the committee can see everything. And then we also thought this would be a good opportunity to get some comments from you as well, so that we can integrate it into the things coming next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you for putting all the information together. It was really interesting to learn and to hear what Heritage homeowners had to say about what they're interested in for the grant program. So it's great that you were able to collect all that information and that data and inform your own, or what our grant program might look like. I'm supportive of a lot of all of what you said, really, like the idea of focusing on the structural elements, for example, having it be annual, be as simple as possible. I think my biggest thing is just, kind of getting the word out there that Grimsby is investing in these heritage properties in like a really meaningful way, and, encouraging homeowners and property owners to use this. So I'm interested to see, with how we structure the grant program, how many people come forward and what kind of projects they're able to do, or maybe things that they were pushing off that now they can do. So I'm excited to see what comes of that. I see a couple hands, so I'll stop. Amy, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just have a question. You answered a lot of my questions that I had noted. With it being a pilot program, I'm making the assumption that there's flexibility, and I'll put some context behind that. One of the things that I was noting, I like the flexibility of it being annual, and then you had even talked in instances of having, a cap so multiple people can apply. But you also noted that you've had trouble using up the funds, and now there's an additional $500. Long-term, the hope would be that the homeowners are engaged in taking advantage of the grant. In that instance, if it was being receptive and utilized, the annual would make sense, right? But if you go into the pilot with limitations and say you put that an applicant can only do it once every 2 years and it doesn't get used up, is that prohibiting that homeowner from accessing funds for projects that would benefit the home, themselves, and the community? So is there the flexibility to kind of, as more and more people take advantage of the program, to make adjustments that are suitable for everybody?
Through the chair, I just wanted to know it's 5,000 extra, not 500. That's available for funding wise compared to other years. But yeah, I think the idea would be start off for fairness sake, one application. You can apply for one application a year. Say we did that for the pilot. I think if funding wasn't being used, we'd definitely come to council and say, someone who's already applied for one wants to apply for another one. Is this something we can do? But I think our goal is to get this really out there. We really want to advertise it with hopes of it being used. But I think, yeah, if we get into that situation, we definitely could come forward with some kind of a report relaying that information for sure. We wouldn't want the funding to not be used.
Yes, Councillor DeFlavio, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. So, I'm sad to see the end of the Smarter Niagara incentive programs because I think it was 15 or 16 years ago we started with the facade improvement program, the downtown facade and heritage restoration program, and we saw a lot of success. We saw Harmony House, we saw the fire station, Teddy's, a bunch of other businesses, either on a small scale or a large scale, from a signage to an entire restoration, take advantage of those. And so from a town's perspective, the maybe $200,000 that we invested resulted in more than, like $1.5 million or $2 million worth of work in the downtown. That has had a significant impact. Harmony House, for example, is one that comes to mind. People saw that and said, this is something that I can do. This is something that I want to do, and I want to make my building look better as well. And so, the end of that program means the end of matching from the region, which we got triple our money, right? So if you invest $5,000, the region invests $5,000, and the builder, the person that was doing the work always put in way more than that. So it was a very small amount for us to invest compared to what we were getting in return for that money. And so I'm glad that we're going to have something in place. I still think that we should continue with something. I don't know. I'm assuming that the end of the Smarter Niagara programs means the end of the facade improvement program as well. So the thing that I would recommend is that we as a committee recommend that if by chance there are years that the budget is not used, that should be carried on to the next year and added to the next year's budget, not put into the general reserves, because there are years where people, I'm thinking of the pandemic, which was a rare situation, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity to do work. So people weren't taking advantage of a program like that. But I'd like to see it banked for future use, because what we want is for people to see other people doing work, to be inspired by that, and to make those kinds of improvements on their houses. In the end, I think that any program that we put in place, especially in the downtown, like the downtown program for me was one that had a multiplier effect, because the downtown is a public space. I don't think of it, despite the fact that the buildings are privately owned, I think of the downtown like a public space, the way that we invest in parks and streets and sidewalks. An investment in the downtown, and again, a relatively small investment in the downtown when it came to heritage, resulted in drastic improvement. So I want to see this continue. I hope that I'm saddened that the region's not going to continue to match it. My question was, some of the other municipalities that you named, Kingston, Halton Hills, and Burlington, was there regional matching for their programs, or those individual programs within those municipalities? Because I think the region matching it is a very, I never thought to mention it to the mayor and Councillor Seaborn when we have them here at council, but it's something that I definitely will bring up, because the region didn't spend a huge amount of money on this. It wasn't a significant budgetary item in their $1 billion budget. I would say it costs probably the cost of, a police car a year. It's so insignificant that it wouldn't even be a blip on the radar. So canceling this program doesn't make any sense from a regional perspective. So that's disappointing. I guess the other thing that I wanted to say was that tax incentive program is very important. And while you mentioned the fact that other places have their grant program in place, we've had a grant program in place for a decade and a half. So it's not like this is new. This is just a change to what we were already doing. It's the town of Grimsby alone instead of the town of Grimsby with the regional municipality of Niagara. So I think that we need to move forward with that tax incentive program. I'm hoping that it'll be coming forward in time for the next year's budget. That's the promise that was made, and that's what we continue to tell people who ask about it. So please put that on the front burner, because this heritage incentive program seems like basically just a matter of budgeting for it, and then you bringing them forward saying, this person wants to take advantage of it. What do you think of the, it seems like less of a big deal than that tax incentive program. So I'd really like to see that tax incentive come forward. I talked a lot, and I apologize. It's just I was a member of the Heritage Committee for 15 years, and I was the chair of planning when that incentive program came through. It was very important to me. The facade improvement program was one that came out of the downtown Grimsby community improvement ideas. There were 5 or 6 different ideas in there, and that was one of them. And I was always saddened that we never put a tax incentive program in place as part of it. So I really want to get that done in this term of council. Thanks, Chair.
Through the chair, I'll just answer your question about the matching. From my understanding, it was the municipalities had their own outside of the region, so they were their own independent. And I was also going to say the tax incentive, we also talked to all these municipalities about the programs they had. So all of this benchmarking has happened for the tax relief program. There's just a significant financial component, like finances involved. So we're working through that process now to put that in place. And then that program's through the Municipal Act. So it's slightly different, but the review is definitely underway, and the intent is to bring it before the budget's decided for 2025, so, or 2024. Wait, no, we're in 2024, so 2025.
Through you, Chair. The other thing I wanted to point out was the grant program. It has allowed us to convince people of the benefits of designation in the past. It's allowed us to make improvements to houses that had been worn down for a long period of time. Properties have been worn down for a long period of time. It has a benefit to the municipality as a whole. So I want to make it, we're not just helping out those individual homeowners and property owners. It has a benefit to all of us when these properties get improved and protected, because once we get that easement in place or the heritage protection in place, we can guarantee that that's going to be there long after we're gone. And that's the goal of this committee, right, is to make sure that these important properties are here long after we're gone. So let's get it done and let's get it started, because I'm sure there's people that want to take advantage of it.
Through the chair, I was just going to add, I did have that in the report. It said investing in these properties presents an opportunity to invest in our local heritage assets and ensures that these buildings will be preserved for future generations. So we absolutely agree with you on that.
Thank you very much for your comments, Councillor DeFlavio, and for answering those questions, Bianca. Councillor Corstangi, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Yeah, I'm in favor of the tax incentives, and I'm looking forward to that, because I foresee that we could have an issue with if a homeowner, and we have a range of residents with income available to be able to make these improvements. And my fear would be, if you don't have the 50% to put up for that grant, you're not going to apply for that grant. And then you're not going to be able to maintain and improve the things you need to. So I think the tax incentive is complementary, because that can give you that bit to put up. So I think the two go hand in hand. So I think that's a really important piece. What I'd also like to see, and this was mentioned at the sustainability and climate change talk the other night, is green initiatives with heritage. And I think we need to look at that in our grant program as well, and what can be done and how we can help in that aspect, as we're preserving and stuff, and grants that may apply for that. So I'm hoping through the grant program, and I know you've done lots of research and stuff, that we will have these things in place to ensure that everybody can afford to take advantage of the grants, and also that they can be distributed fairly, and it's not always the same properties getting, and that nonprofits and residents and downtown, there's sort of an equal footing, that everybody has the same advantages. But I'm really happy to see this come forward. So thank you for all the work you've done. And I'm happy that nonprofits are included in this, because we do have a lot of nonprofit organizations in our heritage buildings, and it's a wonderful use for heritage buildings. So it's nice to see that we're looking after them as well. So thank you.
Through the chair, I was just going to add, I think that's a great point about having the tax incentive kind of pair nicely with the grants. And some of the discussions we had with the non-for-profit was they wouldn't have been eligible for the tax incentive. So they were really excited about the grant option. So this kind of gives us an opportunity to have something for both of those. I really like your ideas on the sustainability. So are you thinking like potentially having like sustainability be a part of the criteria? Because some people did do that. Other municipalities did touch on if it was going to be like an initiative to say bring your wood windows up to being more energy efficient. It's like you're keeping those embodied carbons in the building, they're serving their purpose, and then it's like you're upgrading, things like that. That could be something we could consider as well.
Thank you, through Chair. Absolutely. And I'm thinking of also the property on Kerman Avenue that designated their tree. And you know, maybe it's the arborist looking after the tree, and yes, the windows and making things more energy efficient and things like that. If we have a little bit of leeway in there, it also improves the value of these homes, and also people wanting to move into them and stuff. Like we're sort of making regulations around new homes being built energy efficient, so we still have to look after our older homes and make them improve. So yeah, exactly, that would be fantastic.
That's great. Thank you so much. I really like that idea of adding sustainability as part of the criteria for the grant program. And also a question that kind of after Councillor DeFlavio was speaking. So would we perhaps be able to add more commercial like incentives to the grant program too? Like I know some of those municipalities had separate funding for commercial and separate for private or residential. Is that something that maybe we could do? Or if anything will come out of if we are losing the facade program, is there somewhere that we can add something like that to the grant program? I'm not sure.
Through the chair. So at this point, we're just opening it up to everybody. But at the next meeting, you're going to see kind of touching on Councillor Kristanji's comment about funding being available. We did want to have smaller grants because sometimes there isn't funds for larger ones. And so the goal is with the 20,000 was to have a few small grants and then maybe like restoration project. And so you'll see that we kind of did 2 categories rather than breaking it up into the different uses of the property. It's more based on the funding types. Like if you're going to do, say, wood window restoration or whatever it is, you may want to do the smaller one and just do one that year, whatever it is. And then we kind of had a set rate for that. But again, we really want your feedback. So we're going to bring what we're thinking based on what we did benchmarking, but we want to do something that fits for Grimsby and kind of touching on the different property owners. And I was just going to add, so one of the things that we've been offering at the town and a lot of property owners are taking up the offer is conservation plans with the property owners. So we walk with them around the site and kind of put all of their projects into like what needs to be done right now, what can be done 2 years, what can be done in 5 years. And so we think that this grant program will pair really nicely with those plans so that there's funding available when they get to that step. And so kind of they have like goals for their sites, and we felt that this program supported those goals. So I was just going to add that in.
Thank you. That's great. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Further to Councillor Kristanji's comments, the most basic thing that we do by preserving heritage sites is keeping them out of landfills, right? Like when a building gets demolished, when an old building gets demolished, it becomes landfill. It doesn't get recycled, it doesn't get reused, it just goes to the dump. So by preserving these sites, it's the most basic form of, it's the first R. It's reducing the amount of lumber that gets cut down, reducing the amount. So, and the other thing I wanted to say was the incentive program, any kind of program that provides incentive shows that we're not just talking about heritage from a municipal perspective, because we're designating all these properties. We have some skin in the game too. We care about it enough to invest money in it, and that's an important thing that we're doing. It's not a little thing, because we need to prove to people that we care enough to spend money on it, and that's how the municipality should. That's how we do it as a municipality. That's how we prove that we care about something. Unfortunately, is that we budget for it and we spend money on it. And so if we put this program in place, by spending money on it, we're showing that we care enough about it to budget for it and put a long-term program in place. So yes, it's a pilot, but let's move from pilot to permanent and protect these properties and help them out going forward. Thank you.
If I could just add, I think that's a good point. the idea of the pilot is to customize it. It's not to take it away. So the idea is to keep it in place, but maybe if we did it 2 years, the pilot, we can talk about that next meeting. But if say we did 2 years and did almost like lessons learned and made tweaks to the program, I think that's a good use for the pilot rather than saying we're going to take the funding away after. I think it's definitely a need, and to speak to Councillor DeFlavio, it was really well used, and that was something the region always said, was that Grimsby definitely took advantage of this program, and so there's definitely interest for it. So I'm hoping it will be successful.
Thank you. Yes, Amy, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I think it's opportunity is what comes to mind. This is our opportunity to bring forth ideas, and although something really great is being ended and no longer supported, that we put something new. One of the things, and apologies if you already covered this, because I know we've had a lot about it, but has there been, we talked about benchmarking, you guys have done a tremendous amount of research, thank you. Have you guys looked back and done an assessment on what the uptake is on particular projects, like where the majority of grants previously have been applied to? And is there an opportunity to get feedback through surveys or I guess just more of an invested interest from the home owners in terms of where they would like to see the majority of the grants, because we have that flexibility categories that we talk about, the non-for-profit, small projects, large projects, restoration, getting their feedback to kind of tailor it and then go back to the homeowners and saying, not only, Councillor DeFlavio was saying, it's important that we're investing in you, but we're taking your direct feedback, right? We're not making assumptions for you. Has any of that taken place?
Through the chair. So as we were doing the consultations with the property owners and speaking with some of our long-standing designated sites, we did get a lot of feedback. We spoke to about 50 of the property owners. We have 64 designated sites, and we were able to speak to about 50 of them through the consultation and just our ongoing relationships with them, heritage permits. We've been talking about it with them for quite some time since we knew the Smarter Niagara program was coming to an end. And a lot of it, and the ones we've used in the past, was like designated attributes received the grant. So like the Harmony House, they had the old symbol at the top, and so they had that be restored. Nixon Hall just finished a lot of masonry restoration. They redid their chimneys. The Udell House, I believe they used it for window restoration and reproduction. So they lost some of their windows, so they had them reproduced. I know there's some applicants right now interested in foundation work. Porches is a big one. And I know one of the property owners found like a corbel in the attic. And so she would love to use the funding to put the original corbels back on the building because she has one, so she used it to reproduce them. So a lot of them is either structural or attributes, or we've also had some talk about like compatible additions and things like that. So I think all of that would be something we would put in the criteria for sure. But if there's additional ones that the committee can think of, we'd be happy to look at those as well.
Thank you. Thank you for this very fruitful discussion. Any other comments? Yes, Brian, go ahead.
Through you, Chair. A question around the intake process. You said clear defined period. Is that going to be one annually, or would there be multiple intake periods throughout the year?
Through the chair, from our benchmarking, it looked like everyone did one intake period, and it was about I would say 8 months before prime construction time, so that people could book trades. So based on our timeline this year, we want to use the funding available. So if all goes well, we'd like to have this come to committee in June. Probably would take us till July to get approval from council. And then so that way in the fall, we're getting this program put in place. And then that way by the spring next year, they'll be able to do the work spring, summer. And then we also have that paired with the tradespeople that we know do reputable work. And so we'll share that with them. As you'll see in what we bring forward to the next committee, we're going to have a whole brochure for them and touch on all that stuff. But yeah, one intake period, and then with the intention of it being so they can book trades.
Through you, Chair. One suggestion on that would be to maybe have the opportunity, if there's, say, emergency repairs that come up, they're just outside of that period in case something does come up as unplanned and isn't a regular they missed that cycle piece. I wouldn't want them to potentially miss out on the emergency repair, but foot the bill themselves if that's something that was not necessarily a lot of runway to plan for.
That's a great suggestion. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Awesome. Well, thank you again for all of that information, for doing all of that diligent work and benchmarking. And we look forward to seeing what you're proposing next month and to go through it then as well. All right, let's move on to the resolution then. Resolution here, that report to HR 2410 dated May 14th, 2024 regarding information on the Heritage Grants report be received. A mover. Brian? All in favor? Carried. Great. All right, we're moving on to a heritage permit for 130 Main Street East. Go ahead, Garrett.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The property at 130 Main Street East was designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act on May 17th, 2021 by bylaw 2134. The property is known as the Nels Balfour Danish House. The property occupies a lot on the southwest corner of Main Street East and Nels Road South and features a large Italianate dwelling that is currently being used for a commercial purpose. On April 18th, 2024, the applicant applied for a heritage permit to retroactively approve the addition, of an exterior wooden staircase on the east facade. The new structure was built on top of the former staircase. The former concrete staircase was showing signs of deterioration and for safety reasons was updated with new materials. It is important to note that a building permit will be required as a part of this retroactive approval process. Staff have been working with the property owners to obtain full approval and ensure adherence to applicable legislation for the completed works. Staff recommend that the heritage permit be approved as the new stairs will improve the daily use of the building. This type of alteration will further encourage the long-term retention of the building and improve the function of the space. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. So I guess because this has already been done, this is all retroactive, but does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Brian, go ahead.
Oh. There we go, through you, Chair. The burning question, how did they become aware of this? Was it, what prompted the retro? So they did the work and then now they're asking for the permit. Why did it come later?
Through the chair, we'd like to keep an eye on our heritage buildings, and actually our chief building official found this one. So he brought it to my attention. And so we've been working together to get the approvals for the site. So they're working with us to get those.
Through you, Chair. I feel like we've had a couple of these probably in this year, maybe the last 5-6 months. And I know this property was only designated maybe 3 years ago. Is there anything that we should be doing to maybe convey the message around the process and doing it prior to? I mean, granted with this one, you looked at it, probably wasn't an issue, but I don't think that's always going to be the case. So just wondering what you feel we need to do to maybe get that message out there and help to maybe get ahead of some of these ones that are coming later after the fact and potentially could have that property where something is altered where, it's significant.
Thank you, through the chair. We do talk about this quite extensively with the property owners when they're designated. In this case, I think here they have a very busy business, and so they were probably just trying to bring the safety up. And because it was a later addition to the building, they felt they could do that. I've worked with them a lot. They know the rules. We have, reiterated again the process. And so we ensure clear messaging is sent, and that's why we make sure they go through this process, even if it happens before it happens, or get the approval even though. Oh, my laptop died, sorry. Sorry, one sec. Okay, sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. Yeah, so through the chair, these property owners are aware. So I've had to deal with them on this a couple times. So in order to correct it, we have done the retroactive permits. We also do keep an eye on our heritage sites and do our best to communicate that to the property owners. But I think maybe with the grant going out, when we send that brochure, we'll just make sure that that's a line in the brochure as well. So it's very clear that when work is being done. Also, it's usually triggered by the building permit. And so because they didn't obtain building permits, it wouldn't have triggered our process, but usually it's triggered through the building permit if they don't reach out to us ahead of time. So I think we'll just reiterate that again in some messaging when we send out the grant forms, because we'll be going to all the designated sites. So it might be a good opportunity to remind everyone of that. But yeah, usually it's the building permit.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes, go ahead, Brian.
Through you, Chair. I guess a comment and then, or a suggestion and a question. So we were just talking about the criteria with the grant program. I'd say maybe we consider something around the compliance with this as a consideration for that. Those property owners that are proactive with it, I think the ones probably should be prioritized over. If there are properties where they're, not, whether it's by omission or commission, that maybe is a criteria that we can throw in there. And then a question, it's more curiosity. What happens if the permit isn't approved? I mean, they've already done the work, and I mean, is this more just a formality on the record, or is there actually a consequence that would come of this?
Through the chair. So the consequences of it would be essentially if you said no, they would have to take it down, or they could appeal the heritage permit, because the way the Heritage Act is worded, that they're not supposed to alter a heritage site until council gives them approval. There's also fines under the Heritage Act. In this case, this is a pretty minor issue, but if it had been significant enough, fines are up to $1 million for residential, and then for incorporated sites, it's, I believe, $2 million. So it's really important that we are making the property owners aware of that. And we deal with them on case by case. If the property owner doesn't know, I think that's a different situation than if they do know. So we definitely work with the property owners to make sure that this isn't just put on anyone. So we'd like to make them aware, and all of the newly designated property owners are aware of this. We do talk quite frequently to most of the designated sites. So it's a rarity, really, that significant things happen without our notice. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity with the grant to put that in. And then I liked your comment about being in good standing of legislation as a criteria.
Yes, it does sound like communication is quite important here. And I agree, Brian, that's a really great suggestion to make sure these property owners, if they are receiving the grant, are in good standing and are compliant with these, what it means to be designated. Any other questions regarding this? All right, we'll move forward to the resolution then. Resolution here, I have moved that report HG 2411 130 Main Street East Heritage Permit application dated May 14th, 2024 be received, and that the committee recommends the heritage permit for 130 Main Street East be recommended for approval. Do I have a mover? To Flavio, perfect. All in favor? All right, that's carried. Moving forward to 53 Ontario Street, another heritage permit. Mrs. Garrett, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The property at 53 Ontario Street, known as the Great Western Railway Station, was designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act on July 15th, 2019 by Bylaw 1955. The designated property occupies the northwest corner of Ontario Street and Carnegie Lane. The subject lands contain the original Great Western Railway Station that was constructed in the 1850s. On April 23rd, 2024, the property owner submitted a heritage permit application proposing changes to the site. The proposed changes include an increase to the height of the wooden railings, add a new sign advertising the future Montessori school, and to add a metal fence around the front of the property to create an enclosed play area. The existing wooden railings are currently 42 inches tall. To conform to ministry regulations, the railing height will need to be increased by 6 inches for a total height of 48 inches. Staff have worked with the property owner to find a solution that will have minimal aesthetic change and preserve the existing railings. The proposed solution is the installation of a black metal pipe handrail on top of the existing railings to increase the height. The black metal will match the current metal railings currently on the building's exterior stairs. And the proposed metal railing can be seen in the image on the left. As a part of this application, a new sign is also being proposed. The sign and design location can be seen. Oh, guess it can't be seen. Staff are supportive of the proposed sign and note that the location and placement will not affect the heritage attributes of the building. Like I said, as a requirement of the future school use, the applicants will need to provide a play area that is enclosed. The property owners are proposing to enclose the paved area that fronts onto the intersection of Carnegie Lane and Ontario Street using a black metal fence. The proposed fence will not impact the current available views to the heritage resource. The selected material for the fence will also match the proposed metal railings, and the proposed fence can be seen in the image on the right on the screen. In summary, staff recommend that the heritage permit application for 53 Ontario Street be recommended for approval. The proposed changes will enable the future business to run in accordance with the ministry requirements and will result in no impacts to the heritage attributes of the property. The proposed use of the structure will further encourage the long-term retention of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Councillor DeFlavio, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So I'm happy to see that this site is being preserved, and I'm excited to see what the inside looks like, because I remember it as Forks Road Pottery for years, and my only question is, why a black metal railing, and why not just do another wood? Why not just continue the wood that is all over the building on the outside? Why do something so distinct as a black metal railing that will really stand out, where just another wood across with maybe something supportive would do the same, would heighten the same way and wouldn't stand out? Because the black metal railing is going to be a very distinct difference from the rest of the building. It's not like that railing is original railing anyway, the railing that's there. So it was all added. Like, none of that stuff was there 20 years ago, just to be clear. So I don't understand why you'd put a black metal railing and not just put additional wood across the top so it looks like the rest of the building. So if somebody can answer that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Other than that, I'm excited to see every time I drive by there and I see things change and the building change and look better and better every time I go by. I'm excited about it. I heard rumors of the Montessori school, but I wasn't sure that it was going to happen there, because there was a restaurant before that and a few other ideas before that. So awesome, except for the metal railing. So if somebody could explain the metal railing to me, that would be great. Thanks.
Through you, Chair. So we pitched a couple possible ideas to the applicant to try and mitigate that railing increase. We did a slight mock-up of what it would look like to add on 6 inches of wood on top of the current railing. And the current railing, the top rail is a little over 2 inches as well. So it resulted in about an 8-inch timber looking piece kind of on top of the railing there. But we did propose that as an option, as well as the black handrail and another option. The applicant ended up liking the handrail the most, and staff are supportive of it as well. We did find that it also matched the existing handrails that are on the exterior staircases around the building. The thought behind it as well is the issue of adding another piece of wood is that it could create water pooling issues, but with the black metal handrail, it can be the way it can be secured into the building is also reversible, and is likely to cause less harm to the existing materials. So that was some of the rationale behind the black handrail. Thank you.
Through the chair, I was just going to add, the railings are actually super cool. They came from the timber frame building. So when they were doing the restoration, one of the beams had to be upgraded to be steel. And so they took the old reclaimed beams and actually milled them into the railings today. So that's all old growth timber from the 1850s. So super cool. And so they're protected as a part of the designation as well, because the timber frame foundation was actually an attribute. So now we're actually seeing a piece of it on the outside. And so I think that was some of our thoughts too around the fact that we had these old growth timbers and then we would be adding in new growth on top. And so we know that would be breaking down a lot faster than the old growth. And so we wanted to remove water as much as we could from that railing.
Through you, Chair. The only thing I want to add is I hope that the doors will be open, whether it's in a doors open or a grand opening, so that we could see the inside, because I don't know if anybody had been in the old building, but those beams were all exposed before, so I'm interested in seeing what that looks like today. This is one of the most important, if not the oldest, one of the oldest wooden railway stations in Canada, and its preservation is really important. So we lost the old rail house from when I was a kid in the 90s, and I'm hoping that this will be here for another 200 years, long after we're gone, like we do with other heritage projects. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments and questions. That's really neat to know that about the old growth timbers. That's really interesting. I'm also just happy to see the building being used, and I agree to seeing the improvements done to it. It's been really exciting. Any other questions from the committee? Awesome. Okay, then I'll move forward to the resolution. Moved that report HG 2412 53 Ontario Street, a heritage permit application dated May 14th, 2024 be received, and that the committee recommends the heritage permit for 53 Ontario Street be recommended for approval. A mover. Councillor Korstanji, thank you. All in favor? Great. All right, that's carried. And moving on to a street name request. Garrett, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The approved development at 37 Bartlett Avenue is in the process of obtaining building permits and requires one street name to be selected for the newly created street. In accordance with the street naming procedure, the Grimsby Historical Society has provided a detailed report containing 2 suggested names based on the area's significant history. So the 2 names being proposed are Acacia and Tennyson Jarvis. Staff are supportive of the proposed names and look to the committee to select the final recommended name for the new street within the development at 37 Bartlett Avenue for council's approval. Staff would also like to thank the Grimsby Historical Society for all of their contributions towards the preservation of the town's cultural heritage value, as well as Wayne Mullins from Legacy Research. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett, for that presentation. All right, so street naming requests, we have 2 options. Looking for committee's comments. Yes, Brian, go ahead.
Through you, Chair. Through the 2, I would push for Acacia. Part of the reason is I think there's a bit more risk when we pick names nowadays that there may be something that comes up later on that is unsavory. And so I think maybe the safer bet is to go with the Acacia, just it's more general in nature. So that would be my vote out of the 2.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor DeFlavio.
I'm fine with either. The background that was provided by the Grimsby Historical Society regarding Tennyson Jarvis was an interesting read, and the only thing I would say is Tennyson Jarvis is a long name for a street, so Tennyson or Jarvis makes sense, but I mean, Tennyson could be mistaken for the poet, but I wouldn't mind that for my street name. I'd love that. That's a great name for a street. So I'm fine with either one. I would just say if we do choose Tennyson Jarvis, I would make it either Jarvis or Tennyson, not both, because that's a lot to put on an envelope, and not that people mail anything anymore, but, you know, it's a long street name.
Thank you for that comment. Yes, Amy, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. That was actually my recommendation too, because it was such a mouthful. But the other reason I like Tennyson Jarvis is I think it's intriguing. Even if you take an aspect like acacia as a tree, right, it's not going to have a lot of interest, whereas Tennyson Jarvis, I mean, not everybody was going to look to it, but I feel a lot of people will be interested in the background of that name and may look it up, and it can bring more attention to Grimsby and its heritage. And there's a lot of great associations, especially with Peninsula Ridge and its ties as into the Department of Biology and Agriculture. So I just thought that was a really good fit. And I think anytime we have an opportunity to kind of just bring that next layer, we might take it. But I do agree with what you were saying, Brian. I think we do need to be very cautious and make sure that our due diligence has done so nothing creeps up.
Thank you for these comments so far. Yes, Garrett, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just also to add on to the committee's consideration, Acacia Road is not available. There's currently a road, Acacia Road in Pelham, so it can have a different suffix. Thank you.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. To add my 2 cents, what I liked about the Jarvis name, I do agree it's a little bit long, so I think either one or the other. But also, like, if their house is still standing and it's close by, which is kind of an interesting tangible tie to the history as well. The 1915 house is still standing, and there can be, you know, an interpretive element, not to say that a plaque will come, but just to have, if someone is interested in learning that history of Tennyson Jarvis, the fact that his house is standing and close by is a neat link as well. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation as well. Any other thoughts? Okay, so it sounds like our conversations have been more leaning towards a Jarvis or Tennyson. Do we have any preference between Tennyson or Jarvis? Yes, Amy.
I like Tennyson better, but I think Jarvis has a better impact in terms of historical context. So, but my vote would be Tennyson.
Anyone else have any thoughts? Are you seconding Tennyson? Yeah.
Through you, Chair, that way if there is anything that comes up, we can say that we named it after the poet and not have to worry.
Different guy like that. All right, so I guess we can go forward with Tennyson. Does that sound good with everyone here? I see some nods, maybe. Okay. I think that's a strong street name. It's different too. I'm curious though about like when you say Asia is already a road, so is that like there can only be one in all of the region? So I wonder if we would be competing with our Jarvis roads too. I don't know. Or Jarvis streets.
Through you, Chair. I just wanted to add in that because of fire response, that's why we can't have multiple roads named the same thing within Niagara. Thank you.
That makes sense. That's not something I considered before. That makes sense. Okay, so we can move. I'll put Tennyson down, and then we can put it to a vote. Then I guess. All right, resolution here, that report GH 23 or 2413 street name request be received, and that the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee recommends that Tennyson be used as a proposed street name within the approval development at 37 Bartlett Avenue. Do I have a mover? DeFlavio.
I did, yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Amy. Amy moved it, sorry, thank you. All in favor? Okay, we'll carry that. I don't think we're putting a suffix on this. Oh, do we have a preference for road, street? I didn't know that was an option. It kind of just like ends, so maybe it is a crescent.
It wasn't an off crescent.
It's like an L.
We don't have to, how about we let staff investigate the suffix so we know what is okay and what's not?
Yeah.
Because it might be a Tennyson and like imagine Niagara on the Lake would have a Tennyson, because they're very pretentious.
Fair enough, fair enough.
They were all screened. But
All right, so we're going to leave it at Tennyson and let staff come up with the suffix then. Okay, that's carried. Moving forward to a designation research report for 282 Main Street West. Go ahead, Garrett.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Staff would like to note that the property owners have been informed of the proposed designation of their property, and the owners are supportive, and they have also attended tonight's meeting. Based on the assessment of cultural heritage value or interest, staff recommend that the property at 282 Main Street West be designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Staff have concluded that the property has met 4 out of 9 prescribed criteria of the Ontario Regulation 906. The property meets the criteria for design and physical value because the structure at 282 Main Street West is representative of the Italianate and Edwardian architectural styles. The Italianate structure was constructed in the 1890s and received an extensive Edwardian update prior to 1934. The structure retains a large amount of the original materials used and is a fine example of the fruit farming estates found along Main Street West. The property meets the criteria for historical and associative value because the structure at 282 Main Street West has direct associations with the Metcalfe family and Crouch families. The structure was built in the late 1800s by William Crouch. William Crouch was a fruit grower in North Grimsby Township. In 1912 to 1913, Harry Morfitt Metcalfe and his wife purchased the property, naming it Spruce Villa. The couple had one child, their only daughter, Dorothy Jane. They lived there until 1919. After that, the house was sold to Alexander and Catherine Globe, and they renamed the house the Anchorage. This is likely when the renovations happened to the home, adding the Edwardian layer. The property meets the criteria for contextual value because 282 Main Street West follows the scale, mass, and form of the surrounding former fruit farms. The Italianate Edwardian residence displays the wealth of Grimsby's early fruit farmers and supports the character of the scenic Main Street West corridor. The building was constructed as a farmhouse on an agricultural parcel in the late 1800s. The property's location on Main Street West is crucial as this was formerly known as Queenston Stone Road, an important highway in the Niagara region and former Indigenous Peoples Trail. Based on the assessment of cultural heritage value or interest and significant findings, staff recommend that the property at 282 Main Street West be designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. I also want to extend again a thank you to the Grimsby Historical Society and Wayne Mullins from Legacy Research for all of their contributions towards protecting the town's heritage. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that report, Garrett, for putting the work into this. Really interesting story, and it's really great when we have so many insightful sources to go from, like the letters that you brought forward and the photographs. It really makes the story come to life, so that's really exciting. Any comments or questions from the committee? Awesome. Okay. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Corstangi, go ahead. I didn't see you there.
Thank you, through you, Chair. It's really nice to see the owners of the property here and supporting. The house is beautiful. I walk by it all the time. One of the things I really love is the names of some of the heritage houses, and it's wonderful to learn them and then to learn how they've evolved into different names and stuff like that. I think it'd be wonderful in the future to either have like a sign with the name or sort of have like a heritage quest to find these houses or what's named what or something, because I think the names are really important and they're the little things that we never know, but they're always in the reports, and it's amazing to learn, and you always wonder, like, we just don't name houses anymore, so it's really neat. So I really like to learn that. I thought that was great, and I'm happy to see this house being up for designation. I'm really happy that the owners are supportive, and I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That's great. Yes, I have one comment. When it comes to the heritage attributes, it would be really great for the report to kind of include some of those photos of the attributes, just so we have a good understanding of what we're protecting, like the tangible elements, why these heritage materials and heritage attributes matter, and have record of them as well. So that was something that because I looked at the long list that we see in the designation report. It's so long. We have the chimney and the eaves, and just having a record of what those are, so going forward would be really great just to see. Yeah.
Through the chair, I was just going to add to that. We do have a lot of records internally on our drive of these detailed elements. We did receive some feedback from some property owners that preferred not to have that detail because some of them are close up to the building just for their privacy. They preferred not to have them in the public drafts that go out, but we do have a lot of records on our end so that we can manage change on the sites over time. So I was just going to mention that. That's why there's less photos than some of the older reports we used to do. But we definitely have like a really good record on our side, but I know some property owners are okay with it. So in cases where they're okay with it, we could look at adding it for those ones for the final one, because these are just draft at this point. But yeah, we'd like to have some good photos of the site when we can, but yeah.
Thank you for that comment. That makes sense too. I completely understand that. Just good to know again, what these attributes are and why they matter. But yes, privacy is very important. Yes, Garrett, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. If that's also a question about just understanding some of the terminology about what these elements mean as well, we can start to add in pieces kind of explaining what these features are rather than putting in an image, or maybe even just kind of describing where they are in the building just to kind of help the reader understand what's being listed. Thank you.
Yes, that would be great. I guess Councillor DeFlavio, go ahead.
I think it's important that we, every time, and I'm glad that you do it every time you thank Wayne and the Historical Society, the amount of information that they have to comb through to find this stuff and to put together these, so you can put together these reports. I can't imagine the amount of time that it takes to do that and the organizational skills that are required. So thank you again to them, because I don't think you could do it without them. The kind of stuff they're doing up, maybe less creepy doll photos, drawings, but other than that, nothing but positive feedback for the group.
Through the chair, we echo that. I know we often say that we would be lost without Wayne, so we're very grateful for Wayne.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Awesome. And once again, thank you to the property owners for joining today. And we're happy to see that you're supportive and that excited about, and like learning about the history of your house too is always really cool too, right? And to see those old photos and the people that lived there. I was fascinated with that history. And thank you also to Dorothy for donating all of that to Grimsby Museum. That's awesome. Dorothy seems really cool. All right, with that then we'll move forward to the resolution. Oh, yeah. Okay, resolved that 282 Main Street West be designated under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and that a notice of intention to designate be issued in accordance with the Ontario Heritage Act. A mover? Korstanji? All in favor? All right, that's carried. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. So that's it for reports, but we do have one announcement regarding a downtown think tank. So I think Bianca will take it from here.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm really excited to share this with all of you. So as a part of the official plan review, we're going to be having our downtown design think tank. And we want, the goal of this session is that we want to hear the ideas from the community and how they see the future of downtown Grimsby. The Greater Downtown Design Think Tank is a multi-day event that will be taking place the last week of May, and there'll be tours of the downtown area and public consultation opportunities regarding the future of Grimsby's downtown, and this will inform the official plan review. These events will be free and do not require registration. And one of the events will be walking tours on May 28th, and it will be specifically for history and culture within the downtown. And details regarding this tour and the greater event, as well as starting location and starting time, will be available on the Let's Talk Grimsby page in the coming days. And I also have the Director of Planning, Harold Maddie, on the call tonight if anyone has any questions for him. Thank you. And I don't know, Harold, if you had anything you wanted to add.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I think I see some nodding. I think Bianca captured the description quite well. If you're wondering what a think tank is, it's essentially a term that we're using for what we can't really describe and reveal just yet, but we've been very fortunate in this process to have a headquarters that is a coach house downtown and a storefront, a vacant storefront, as an important venue for the public engagement process, and we've called that a think tank because it's going to be an exhibit and an interactive display, and it's going to be really interesting. And it launches on the same day that the farmers market launches for the year, so we're quite excited about the intersection of those two. So it's going to be very exciting. It's a multi-day event, and I've been involved in a lot of events like this. It's if you've ever heard of a charrette, an urban design or a planning and design charrette, this is essentially what it is. It's a coming together of a lot of different disciplines and expertise around the table over an intensive few days to come up with some solutions to some challenging problems. And the downtown, the current regulations for the downtown are antiquated, and this is a really great opportunity as we're launching, as we're engaging in official plan review, to think about the downtown in an updated and current way. And there's some exciting opportunities that we're hoping to bring to realization through this process. So we look forward to everybody getting involved.
That's great. Thank you so much, Harold, for providing that information. This is really exciting, and I'm excited to have this opportunity for the community to come together and to learn and to engage with this and to envision what downtown can look like. So that's awesome. Any other questions from the committee or comments? The date is May 28th for the history and culture downtown, but is there other dates as well?
I could just touch on our Harold if you had.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason we've been kind of like a little bit dicey about the dates because we're still finalizing the details of the schedule, and there's a lot of layers to this process, and a lot of scheduling that we've got to kind of figure out and sort out. But I can tell you that it takes up much of the week. The charrette itself, the design charrette, is about a 3-day charrette. I don't think the town has ever engaged in a charrette that was a multi-day one, let alone the 3-day one. Interweaved through that is a series of public events and engagement opportunities, including walking tours, this think tank thing, which is basically occupying one of the shop fronts, which is going to be a visual display, exhibit, and interactive opportunity. We're going to try to use technology in a way that's really interesting here, lighting technology, in addition to other opportunities for people to get excited about the downtown and to have their say. And there's an intensive workshop that's taking place through the course of all of this in a coach house that's been dedicated dedicated just for this exercise over those 3 days. And pinups will be happening. Stakeholders will get involved, and then it will eventually will be. Well, the outcomes will be presented not that week, but rather at a PIC or a public information center once we've had a chance to go away and refine it a little more, because everything's going to be very sketchy. It's going to be fresh off the press. A lot of it is going to be hand drawn, and so it's not going to be very pretty, but it will get some very big ideas certainly up on the wall, and will be the genesis of what will be a plan eventually. But most importantly, the outcome for this is about setting direction that will go into the official plan. So the broad, big strokes is what we're looking for. And some ideas about some more details will also emerge, because we want to make sure that those broad strokes result in the outcomes that we want. And so we expect that over the course of 3 days, we should be able to come up with something we're quite confident about.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for answering that question, Harold. That's really exciting. I'm excited to see what comes out of this. I'm going to go for sure. I hope to see everyone else there as well. Awesome. Yes, definitely. Definitely send us all the details once you have them. I think that's it then. Awesome. Thank you so much, Harold, for coming on and sharing.
Of course.
And with that, then, we will conclude this evening's Heritage Committee meeting. Thank you all so much for contributing, and have a great night.